evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Citizens Review. This week's show is going to deal with an issue that is, one, very personal to me, because I've had these experiences that people talk about that some people find alien but are very real. But it's also a very central issue in a democracy of people that seek to express themselves. It's a central issue in a society organized by a social contract where we would have given up certain rights and privileges for protection. It's a sensitive issue because the people involved are all just that. They are people, they are citizens of this country, and persons in authority, and the formula is not working itself out in the Bahamas as much as it used to. And it's a serious issue. And when I say that, I'm talking about the police, I'm talking about the numerous, and not even numerous, but the countless incidents of police brutality in the Bahamas. I'm talking about rights being infringed upon, charges being possibly invented and or used to gain advantage in terms of information being released. I'm talking about a serious problem. And please know that I am an avid watcher of police shows. I'm a supporter of the police. I think the police are absolutely necessary. I think more than the average officer in the Bahamas and in the police force in the Bahamas is a good officer that seeks to do their job. But I think we have some serious theoretical and practical challenges with the police. I've had awful experiences. I've had hyper testosterone, hyper-masculine, hyper-aggressive experiences, and I just walk around with suit and tie on every day. So I cannot imagine, and I say it to myself every time, I cannot imagine what the average young Bahamian male who has been failed by our education system, who has been failed by governments in terms of an economy and access to work, I cannot imagine what the police put them through. But I also can't imagine how scared an officer may feel when they walk out onto the streets every day, because it's a dangerous job. And the same young man that may be victim may be murderer. So I brought a guest in today to talk about this idea with me. As a guest that you're all familiar with. He premiered in the first season of Citizens Review, and he is back on Citizens Review to talk about his personal experience, one that I think is rather unfortunate. But we have to talk about these things. So I brought Mr. Rodney Monka on Citizens Review. Mr. Monka, welcome to Citizens Review.
I thank you very much, and I'm so happy to be here with you.
Tell us a little about your experience that you had. Just walk us through it a bit. And we want to be mindful of the judicial implications.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
let's be mindful of that. But tell us what it is that you experienced.
Well, let me establish that on the 23rd of November 2010, His Excellency the Governor General, acting on the recommendation of the then Prime Minister Hubert Alexander Ingram, appointed me as one of the Magistrates Justices of the Peace in the District of New Providence. And on the 30th of November 2010, I took a judicial oath of appointment. And in that oath, to the best of my recollection, I promise to be fair, to all manner of persons who came before me in such capacity as a justice of the peace, and to give justice to. And so the fact that I was obligated to take such a legal oath suggests to me that there are certain powers that a justice of the peace has. And since I am at the community level, some people would say that I'm a community leader.
What is the nature of the oath? What does the oath say in its basic sense?
Basically, that whoever came to me, I was going to be fair to them.
Okay.
I was going to be just to them.
Okay.
Regardless of class or status, social status.
Yeah.
And I tried my best to uphold the oath which I took.
Okay.
I was a volunteer in urban renewal, and so I was honored to be a part of it because it gave me an opportunity to work at the community level, to assist the police, and to ensure fairness. But in the course of my work, and prior to my work, I received many allegations of ill treatment, brutality at the hands of the police.
And people feel, you think that they can come to you because you're on the community level, you're an authority figure of some sort, and they feel like they can confide in you.
A justice of the peace is an official, is a public officer.
Okay.
And so what I attempted to do was to establish the kind of relationship with the police, and particularly the Commissioner of Police, whereby if a citizen came to me, I could quietly say to him, citizen so-and-so is complaining about this treatment. Would you kindly either meet with that citizen or arrange with some officer with a view to seeing how best that issue can be resolved.
Yeah.
And so I played the role of a peacemaker. And I watched that certain events took place. I'll give you an example. I was the chairman of the advisory board for being in Grandstown East for 3 years.
For urban renewal.
Urban renewal. A volunteer. Okay?
Okay.
And for me, it was such an honor because, one, I had just opened up my JP office and faced with certain personal issues. Urban renewal gave me the opportunity to forget some of those while I tried to, when I say forget, to take that pressure off, work in the community and attempt to figure out how best to deal with personal issues. And I did. And a very interesting thing took place. For the last 3 years, I've been attending the Catholic Church.
Okay.
I've gone there specifically because I wanted to understand the church's concept on family planning, specifically birth control and abortion.
Okay.
And I also wanted to understand the principle behind the Eucharist.
Okay.
And so, so we had a situation where it came to my attention that our leaders, Catholic Church, was celebrating Flag Day.
Okay.
Upon hearing that, I was excited. And one day I went and I saw how the officers were training the students, particularly the male, and then subsequently they joined the male. And I said, listen, this is powerful. I go to the Catholic Church. Y'all please make a big thing out of this. And they did. And it was agreed that I would inspect the Guard of Honor.
Okay.
And I invited former Speaker of the House of Assembly, Mr. Simonet. What is his first name?
Mrs. Simonet?
Yeah.
This was 3 years ago?
No, this is in November. Simonet, I think I'm saying his name correctly. He was the former parliamentarian for, I think, Meguana and Nagua.
Meguana? I don't know.
Anyway, I think I'm saying his correct name.
Yeah.
But in any event, he had come to see me on something other than that, and I said, listen, you're doing something, why don't you come? And when I arrived, the police had done more than I had thought. They built a dazed, they roll out red carpet, and of course, prior to that, they had trained me as to what to do.
Yeah.
And so when I got there and I saw that, I said, wow, this is powerful. And I played the role in expecting the guard of honor. I later learned the powerful people were offended that I inspected. Primary school guard of honor. And I said, wow, it's amazing. And I think the relationship began to deteriorate, but notwithstanding that.
You mean with the police?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I suspected that there were politicians in the background. I suspected that. Because I genuinely believed that the Commissioner of Police really wanted me to be a part. And I come to that conclusion because there were little programs that he permitted me to participate. And then one day he flattered me. He said to me that the Minister of National Security could not attend a reading function at a preschool on the corner of John Road and Blue Hill Road. The Naomi Blatch, the Naomi Blatch Primary School, which has emerged as a preschool. And he asked me if I would go and read for the minister. I was flattered. He said, Commissioner, you want me to represent the Minister of National Security? He said, yes, and do a good job. And I thanked him, and I went.
What is your relationship with the commissioner still good?
But of course, his mother is a Monker. So I could never have any ill will towards him.
Okay. Is it your opinion that the commissioner is doing a good job?
I think that he's been doing an excellent job under the circumstances.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's been doing a wonderful job.
Yeah.
There's always room for improvement. And the relationship that I have had with him, he's a masterful thinker and strategist.
Yeah.
And so he's been very kind and gracious to me, notwithstanding what is taking place.
Let's fast track it a bit now because we only have so much time. Let's fast track it to you've had some challenges with the court. You've established a presence on Facebook, and you believe that there are some serious problems with the police in terms of brutality.
Well, essentially, I really didn't want to go onto Facebook, but my friends pushed me.
Okay.
And I decided because there were so many murders and robberies taking place in the society, and I thought the government was not adequately informing the public.
Yeah.
I then turned my page into a news page.
Okay.
And the Bahamian people have been very kind to me in terms of providing me with information whenever crime took place.
Do you think that there's an even greater issue with being provided information about crimes since they stopped reporting on certain crimes?
Well,
I've heard a lot of that in the media.
Well, for me, right, my page, notwithstanding the fact that some people criticize it, I'm of the opinion that my page was at least 95% accurate.
Okay.
I had information before the police had it. People just tell me a bunch of things.
Yeah.
But essentially, I think the problem for the police developed with me when on the 9th of February, I broke two news. The deaths of the two men in custody.
Okay.
And then prior to that, a young man, 19 or 20 years old, his parents brought him and his sister, and they showed me where he was bleeding, and he claimed at the hands of the police.
Okay.
I took photographs, I put it on Facebook.
Yeah.
And then I had a lady who contacted me and said that her son was in custody and the police would not tell her where they were holding him, and she believed he's being held in a secret cell. I did a story also on that, and I called on the Commissioner of Police to please tell this lady where her son is.
Yeah.
And maybe 15 minutes later, she called me and she said, listen, the police have contacted me and they've said to me where my son is.
Okay.
I think for the police and the government, my posts have been extremely embarrassing. I can be very close with you now, but if I think you're making fundamental errors,
It is.
I would deal with that. Essentially, what I'm saying is there's been too much reports of brutality and no independent investigation. What am I to do as a 56-year-old grandfather when citizens come to me and say, Monica, the police say they can kill me. What should I do?
You have to do
See how
something.
loaded that question is?
Yeah.
I said, well, listen, this is my approach. We're going to write the Minister of National Security. We're going to copy it to the Chief Justice. We're going to copy it to the Attorney General. And we're going to copy it to the Commissioner of Police. And you co-sign with me. And then I'm going to do a story on Facebook
Yeah.
so that the world will know
Yeah.
what your allegations are.
How big would you say the problem is with police brutality? We're going to talk about this quickly and then we need to go to a break. How big would you say that problem is? Do you think that it is standard operating procedure? Has it gotten that bad?
Well,
Based on what you've been told?
It's kind of difficult to say, but you have to take in consideration that when young men start complaining and if they start making threats, my job is to keep the peace. And I try to do that as best I can. And since I felt that I had a good relationship with the police,
Yeah.
I thought my problems
Yeah.
could easily
Peace.
be discussed and resolved.
Yeah.
I had a situation where a female came to me and she declared that she was sexually abused by a senior official in our nation. When she said that to me, I said, listen, I'm a male, I'm a man. Let me arrange for you to go to the crisis center. She said she didn't want to go. She wanted to speak with the Honorable Attorney General. I made contact with the Honorable Attorney General, who asked me for a land phone, and then she said she would call me. And she did. And she cautioned me that she had me on a line phone, and she had certain government officials present, and she said that she would and I can talk.
Yeah.
And I then pointed to her what the allegations were without identifying the female or the official.
Okay.
And I begged her. She said that she couldn't do it and she would have the commissioner, because her experts advised her, but she would have the commissioner contact me. And subsequently, he and I got together. And it was a wonderful meeting, because what I've done, because I always tell people his mother is a Monica, I don't send him important emails. I might say to him, well, a crime has been committed, because I refuse to want to create a computer trail, an email trail, because I think it would not be fair to him.
Yeah.
So I've never done that. And normally if I speak to him, I would always ask him to talk to me by myself.
Yeah.
So nobody can know what we are talking. And he's been most kind and gracious to do that. And he agreed that he would see the female. And instinctively, something said, don't identify the female, nor the official. Wait until he sees her. But that never happened. The woman left traumatized. And I felt so bad for her. And after she finished weeping, I gave her a comfort. I said, listen, one day they're going to have a very important women's conference. And you and I will march into the conference and we will expose to the world that we're not serious about women's rights.
Yeah.
And so I never posted her.
Yeah.
Because I thought it would be unfair because she was female, and my political enemies would never appreciate why I'm doing it, so I never. And then, of course, we've had these allegations of deaths, and we've had a young man who was...
Before you go into that, don't go into that just yet. Let me go to a break and we'll come back and talk about more of your experiences. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Citizens Review. I'm having a discussion with Rodney Monka, a Justice of the Peace of New Providence. I think most of you know exactly who Mr. Monka is. He's recently had some issues with the police, and I wanted to talk to Mr. Monka about the experiences he's had with people in the community who are complaining that there is a serious, serious problem with the police force and brutality and infringing upon the rights and freedoms of people. Mr. Monka, you were talking about young men.
Yeah. And so when they come to complain to me, since I know who they are, since I understand the mentality, I try to do everything in my power to avoid civil unrest. I'm serious with that. And I either would write the Minister of National Security, the Chief Justice, the Attorney General, the Prime Minister, to inform them and to give some satisfaction to these young people.
When you say civil unrest, what do you mean?
Let's use the word civil unrest, because my detractors are going to say I'm trying to incite violence.
Well, I mean, I think we have enough experience with police brutality to know that there could be reaction from the community.
Paul Farquharson was Commissioner of Police and the riot flared up, I was in police headquarters in a meeting with him. We were not discussing that. But at that meeting, it was when the then National Security Minister, Mother Pratt, called them quickly to come to Nassau Village. By virtue of my presence, I gather valuable intelligence. That is not to suggest that he said anything to me specifically. But he rushed to the office of the then Deputy Commissioner of Police, John Roll, said, Mother Pratt is on the line, let's move. Because things were happening. At 56, I'm a grandfather. I need my granddaughters to live in a very peaceful and law-abiding society. I got tired over nobody not even fooling me. They were supposed to fool me and say, Monka, tell them, young men, we can do better, or we will meet with them. That didn't happen, and so I'm a bold man. I did little stories, and I post their injuries on Facebook. I post their dead body on Facebook. And so the power of the state moved against me. They came and they arrested me on a Saturday, and they attempted to use duress. They achieved their objectives.
This is the recent arrest?
The first one. They achieved their objectives by moving the photos. I didn't move them, and I don't know who moved them. on Thursday of
Would
last
you
week,
have moved the photos?
if the Commissioner of Police
Yeah,
asks me to do anything that is lawful,
you'll do it.
man, my family, some of them could almost be accused of idolatry. They are so happy that Greenslade, whose mom is a Monker, is Commissioner of Police.
Yeah.
So most time I go to family gatherings,
Mm-hmm.
they want to know what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I always have good stories
Yeah.
to say. But essentially, if he had asked me, I would do it. But they attempted to use duress, and so I had to go into a survival mood. I said to them, I would move it if you release me and let me consult an attorney and talk with friends. They said, no, we'll keep you here and tell Wednesday, and we'll go to a magistrate and extend it.
And when was this, the arrest happened?
This would have been the Saturday after Good Friday.
Okay.
And I
So
then
the next day?
yeah,
Okay.
that's when I got arrested.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so I said to them, well, under those circumstances, please show me my cell. And they used reverse psychology, and they kept me out of the cell.
Hmm.
I was kind of concerned because there's a 20-year-old man that they kept, according to his family, for 122 hours. The law says that the police can hold you for 96 hours or 4 days, but they have an extension. They have the right to go before a magistrate to extend it.
Yeah.
What is wrong with that law is the man who's in custody has no right to go with them to the magistrate and say, magistrate, they're not treating me right,
Mm-hmm.
because the former president of the Court of Appeal,
Yes.
Her Ladyship, Dame Joan Sawyer, in one of her ruling, she said the police should never arrest a person and then go look for the evidence.
Yeah.
So I'm guided by those principles.
Yeah.
And then I was disturbed that they accused me of breaking into the Princess Margaret Hospital and breaking into the morgue. And I have a very humorous streak. And I said, officer, I scared of dead people. And then I said to him, call the Minister of Health.
Yeah.
He will tell you that the hospital was never broken into, nor the morgue.
Yeah.
And he will tell you that I wouldn't do that.
Well, naturally, the police would have a complaint if it was broken into,
Right.
right?
Right. And what they don't know is the minister is one of my secret doctors. So whenever I'm sick, wherever I meet him, and I stop him in the road, he takes good care of me.
Mm-hmm.
So I would never have done that. And then, of course, when they came for me last week, Thursday, what upset me is that they turned off the light. Because the first time they arrested me, I was successful in putting it on Facebook
Mm-hmm.
and rallying my colleagues to know where I am. Because under the law, an adult, upon being taken into custody, there is no obligation for the police to tell his families. Most citizens aren't aware of that. And that is why when they go to the police station and you say you're looking for your son, who's 18, 19, 20 and above, under the law, there's no obligation. So that law
It's ridiculous.
needs to be changed.
Yeah.
And then once the police came, I then recognized, under these circumstances, the Commissioner of Police would not have treated me like this. Don't get me wrong. If I had committed a criminal offense, I think he would treat me, because I'm not above the law.
No.
But under these circumstances, I recognized that there was powerful maneuvering taking place.
Mm-hmm.
But Thursday, when I was arrested, I became frightened when the lights went off, because the light was a part of my security. And when I looked outside, I saw strange men that I didn't recognize. But when I looked through another window and I saw Inspector Mark Barrett, my nerves calmed down because I know him. I said, okay. Essentially, they called me a terrorist. And I said to him, he obviously had forgotten that on the 3rd of February 1983, when he was a student at CC Sweeting, I marched him and hundreds of students into the streets. And I said to him, Mark, you know me. In '83, when students were upset over their condition and threatened to burn down the school, I told them, no, let's march to Bay Street. Let's march on Parliament. Let's march on the Ministry of Education. I was 26 now, then. I'm 56.
Yeah.
What do you mean by I'm a terrorist? He said, when you posted the 3 photographs on Facebook, you terrorized the country.
You terrorized the country.
That's what he said to me. And so, but back to Thursday, when they arrived and I went outside to them, I said, how may I help you? He said he wanted me to accompany him at CDU, and I said, am I under arrest? He said, yes. I said, well, okay.
What is the charge?
I am charged with by conducting, and I'm not saying it verbatim, so forgive me.
Yeah.
I'm charged with committing an indecent act by posting those photographs.
An indecent act, like running in
by-
the streets naked, kind of?
No, by posting the photographs
Okay.
of a deceased person. An examination of the photographs will show that his entire body is covered, save for portions of his chest and his face.
So no genitals showing?
No.
So nothing sexual?
No. In
So
fact,
just-
I'm saying this so the Attorney General could amend the charge. Now, people would say, "Boy, you crazy?" If you read the act under which I am charged, it is most dishonest. And one of the things that I find amazing is that the journalists are not doing a good job.
They're garbage.
They were supposed to take
They're
the
nonsense.
charge
I'm
and
sure
to
none of them
personally-
have even read it.
and personally go and examine what the charge is.
What the charge is, the history of the charge in the Bahamas, have there been any rulings, has there been any precedent, and also talk to a lawyer to see what has happened
Right.
with that particular charge. Any journalist with piece of sense.
And so when you look at the particulars of my charge,
Yeah,
it is not reflected in the law.
okay,
All right?
okay.
Now, my colleagues said to me, I must keep quiet. And I said, no. I'm going to say it to them,
Yeah,
since I knew that this is terrible. There are powerful adjectives that I would want to use, but recognizing that this is a very sensitive radio and TV station, I am not going to use it. Their lordships at the Privy Council
yeah.
has made some fundamental rulings as it relates to the internet
Yeah,
and so forth. And so when you see intelligent people, educated people ignoring the law and the principle that the white English judges made, right? When you see people acting like that,
yeah,
there's a game. So there's a game being run on me to silence me.
yeah.
Never before in the history of the Bahamas have I ever felt threatened and intimidated. Never. And I carried on badly as a young man. In September of 1981, I drove into police headquarters, me and a number of colleagues,
Yeah.
and we marched round and round the police headquarters.
Yeah.
But these people are young, so they don't know it. They put on me obstruction, taking part in illegal procession, all sorts of nonsense.
Yeah.
And when I went to court, the court grabbed each charge and dismissed it. What is happening here is freedom of the press is threatened. My enemies say that I am enjoying the publicity. I'm not enjoying the publicity
I wouldn't imagine that you would be.
based on the bad treatment of me. It was, had I not been a man who practiced a kind of discipline, they would have humiliated me when I arrived at the court.
Yeah.
I didn't know what their strategies were until they physically lined me up with the camera and then grabbed my both sides. And then I relaxed my muscle, which fooled them. And then I was able to cry out. And they have me annoyed because my old uncle, Forrester Bow, he run to the court. My aunties, Romeo Farrington, run to the court. Those things had serious emotional effects on me. And then I didn't like the issue of the bail.
Yeah.
I didn't think the magistrate should have even read the charge based on the fact that over the years, when I write powerful letters to the Governor General or various officials, I would copy her. And in recent time, her husband represented Atlantis over my Facebook, because on the 13th of February, this is what, April? On the 13th of March, he wrote me a letter, and I quickly resolved the matter. And so there's a presumption that she would know.
Yeah.
And so every maneuver that they have pulled on me, God has delivered me from it.
Yeah.
They wanted me to go to the magistrate court.
Yeah.
I chose the Supreme Court. I chose the Supreme Court because my chances are greater because I've studied the way the magistrate courts operate.
Yeah.
On the issue of bail, my bail should not have been that high because the police knew that I'm not a threat. I have never shed blood in 56 years.
You don't have a criminal record.
No. I row, I demonstrate.
Yeah.
The only time I threaten the person, if you do me something, I say, listen here, I'm going to organize and march against you.
Yeah.
But I don't believe in violence. I believe this is such a beautiful country. Why should I mash my country up? I love the Bahamas. I would never advocate violence against the police. I'm the son of a police. My father was the late George Gilbert Moncur. He retired as a chief inspector in the police force, either in 1967 or 1968.
Yeah.
I had a sister who was a policeman. I have nephews who are policemen. I have all kinds of relatives and friends. So I would never advocate violence in the society.
Yeah.
I thought I was badly mistreated. I thought this was an attempt to stifle freedom of the press. And based on the reactions which I have experienced, it kind of suggests to me that perhaps I have a very good Facebook, a very powerful Facebook. And I know that there are powerful forces who wish to close it down.
Yeah.
But I've broken no law. And of course, there are other things that I could say to you, but you know, Mr. Jones have to look at these tapes, and I don't want him to feel that I'm trying to cause him problem.
Yeah.
But
because it's an issue before the court.
well, I've stayed away fundamentally
Yeah.
from the charge. I talk about the treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And so, on the issue of bail,
Yeah.
ordinarily in a court of law, when the magistrate is finished talking to the prosecutor about bail, you should then turn to the defendant and at least hear what he had to say.
Yeah.
When that didn't happen, I asked the court if I could advance an argument. I point out that under the circumstances, I would not be able to, my wife would not be able to afford it. And as a justice of the peace, an ordinary citizen, there are too many citizens who take bogus job letters before the court. And I was going to have my darling wife go to no court with no bogus letter. And so I asked the court to give me bail. That became, and so eventually I decided, I can't be blackmailed, I'll go to prison. All right? I just want to say that. And in recent time, persons on Facebook, I've been on a talk show, and I admit that I had some major financial problems. But I have a piece of property in Carmichael Road worth about $90,000. If I sold that for $60,000, I could go into the Bahamas Mortgage Corporation and pay off the $32,000 that I owe them. I could go into the Royal Bank of Canada and pay them the $6,000 I owe them. I could go into Scotiabank and pay them the $9,000 that I owe them. And then
You'll be fine.
whatever personal problems that I have,
Yeah.
I can resolve that, and I don't have to worry about political pressure, and I could continue to work for the Bahamian people. Now, persons on Facebook have had me under pressure saying, man, let's raise money, let's raise money. All right? Well, finally, I succumbed to it. And so, but essentially, if I am successful in selling my property, and I really believe that I will be able, all the bills that I owe, I'll be able to fix it.
Yeah.
I'll be able to paint my taxi. I'll be able to put on my utilities. And when you are under stress, sometimes you have to say to the world, these are the conditions. And I have never went around the society begging anybody. I believe that a political leader should keep secret his financial problems.
Yeah.
But since it appeared that people want to put me in prison, I then had to reveal that because I have an obligation to protect my darling wife, who's been very supportive, who's been very faithful, and who has tolerated me in all the political maneuvers that I wish to get myself involved. And so my head is bruised. I have some emotional trauma,
Yeah.
but I showed them defiance so that young people in this country who are involved in politics, who say they are activists, an activist must be willing to go to prison for what he believes. But an activist should adopt the policy of Mohandas Gandhi
Nonviolence.
and Dr. Martin Luther King. And it was very interesting that I was charged on the day that Martin Luther King was assassinated, April 4th.
Yes.
But greater than that, my paternal great-grandfather would have been 152 years since he was born. So those dates had very great significance for me. But I condemn violence. I think citizens should condemn violence. I don't think that people should shoot policemen and rob them.
No.
I had a number of policemen who complained to me over the fact that they were witnesses in very serious cases and that persons were firing gun at them. And I went to see the Commissioner of Police, Ellison, Moncur, Greenslade. And I said to him, Commissioner, I'm getting too much police who tells me that their lives in danger. Why will you not give them guns to protect themselves? He gave me an answer. I would withhold that answer because I don't want people to say that I'm only saying that because I'm mad.
Yeah.
The answer he gave me was valid and legitimate. But notwithstanding that, I said to him, I wish a day would come where he can do it. And God has had it, where I think on the 25th of October, in the height of the storm, a policeman arrived at home on Wolf Road, and some criminals opened fire on him. Guess where the police ran?
Well.
To my JP office. And I opened the door to him. So I will never advocate any criminal attack on the police. But finally, there is a move to strip me of my JP. I've committed no criminal offense, but for 54 years, I was never a JP. And so, if the government wished to take it, well, when the new government comes to power, I'll make another application, but I've committed no criminal offense. Freedom is under threat. Freedom is important to a society. Through freedom of speech and freedom of communication, a people holds and makes its government accountable and responsible. And watch me. When the FNM comes to power, I move in the opposition wing. When the PLB comes to power, if they step out of line, I do the same thing. I have no personal deal with any political party. I'm a member of the DNA. my membership is now dormant, but I'm not asleep.
No.
And so there's no deal that I
Yeah.
have with anybody. I try to be fair. I try to look out for the people.
Yeah.
And no matter who the people are, whether or not they are people in uniform, in law enforcement, if they complain to me,
You'll deal with it.
I deal with it.
All
And
right.
so I want whatever violence that is taking place in the society, I want that to cease.
Yeah.
And you would know that off air, I showed you some things.
Yeah.
And so that is the case, right? I'm not afraid of going to court. I'm preparing now 100 subpoena. So that should I go to court, I need 100 witnesses
Mm-hmm.
to testify based on the allegation. All that I ask,
You could
That-
call me as one of them.
thank you, all I ask on the 10th of May, when I return to the magistrate court, that the Honorable Attorney General will demonstrate to me her concept and philosophy of swift justice by having my voluntary bill of indictment ready. If it is not ready,
Mm-hmm.
then we are not serious about swift justice.
Yeah.
Not only do I want that my voluntary bill of indictment passed to me as required and as they agreed on the 10th of May, I want them to do what they say, which is fast track. So if I get it in May, I hoped by July I would be before a judge and jury,
Yeah.
because to hold this above my head would be very unfair.
Yeah.
So essentially, I understand what is taking place.
Yeah.
They have no opposition.
Yeah.
And by sitting in my bedroom,
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to hold them accountable.
And that's
They
the
want to
problem.
close it down, and that's what's going on.
We ain't letting
And
them
so
close
they're
that
spreading all manner. But that's what it is, you know.
door. Yeah.
And since I'm 56 and I've had political fights again, I am not concerned, but I'm afraid of the threats of death. Because in the Bahamas, you can be murdered, nothing comes out of it. Watch this country. And I believe that murderers should be hanged. But I also believe that citizens in custody are in the custody of Her Majesty's law enforcement officers.
They should be
And
treated
I have
with
a duty
respect.
to scream and say, listen, what is happening? The last man that I stood up for, he's a young liberal. He's still walking up and down the street with his PLP. But I didn't look at his politics because the elections are over. I looked at the injustice which was committed against him, and greater than that, his father is my childhood friend. And I don't want nobody burdened with my childhood friend, children, in that manner. If you break the law, take a person before a court of law, and once the court punishes that person, that's it.
Yeah.
I expect to go before an impartial court. So I'm not intimidated. But if I was at the magistrate level, I would have been in trouble.
Yeah.
But at the Supreme Court,
You're fine.
yeah. And so I want freedom to reign. It's not about me.
No,
I could perhaps successfully get off this case.
Mm-hmm.
And when people come to me with their complaints, I can just close my door.
Yeah.
But I can't do it. I believe that I have a good heart.
Mm-hmm.
And when I listen to the pains of people, I have to go in another room to shed my tears. Because as a man, I'm too old to be crying for people. And all kind of people all over this country are playing with my emotions when I see what their situations were. The Commissioner of Police knows I'm a responsible man. About a year or two ago, there was an incident in Nassau Village, and the people of Nassau Village called me. They said they wanted to march. I said, well, I got to let the Commissioner of Police know. And I couldn't get the Commissioner of Police. And I said, okay, we will march. I'm the Justice of the Peace. I'm going to escort you out. Now listen here. We can't have A, B, and C. Those things would be illegal. And then we march. And as we march, I call control. I said, this is Rodney Munker. I'm the justice of the peace for New Providence. I'm marching with 100 persons. They've just had a murder and they're angry. Would you kindly send a patrol car and would you kindly notify the Commissioner of Police? Within no time, not only did the patrol car came, the officer in charge of the police station in that area, he also arrived and we marched. About an hour or two later, the Commissioner of Police called me to thank me for what I did. I am not a criminal and I'm not afraid of court, only the magistrate court.
Yeah.
An examination of the magistrate court, there's not a clear separation between the court and the prosecutor.
Yeah.
At the Supreme Court,
There's a clear separation.
there's a clear separation.
I agree with that.
And
completely.
so, I want freedom to reign. I want to have the right to express my opinion. I want to have the right to pick up my placard and peacefully march and demonstrate.
Yeah.
I'm not in the House of Assembly. So those who are in the House of Assembly, I have a whip for them to make them accountable to the Bahamian people. And there are many instances when people don't understand what I'm doing. So I'm not distracted by that. I'm distracted by the human rights complaints, by the abuse, by the documentation. Because I live in the society. I know every person in the society. And so I thank you.
Yes, sir.
And I hope freedom will reign and that we will have a peaceful and loving society. Because if we do not, and I'm still alive and not in Foxhill prison, I'll pick up my placard and march. And if tomorrow I get the same complaints and the same abuse, I'll post them again. For the Commissioner of Police, hundreds of people on Facebook have posted the photographs for which I have been charged. And that is why they came for me.
Yeah.
Because when they were taking me away, I said, well, what do I do now? And the police said to me, the pictures have reappeared. And so the world now know.
Yeah, they're out.
And so I have done my job. The world know. And if they want to send me to jail at 56, I don't mind. At 26, I didn't want to go. At 18, I didn't want to go. My ma told me, if I get in trouble with the law, I can't go to Miami. Now, I don't like Miami. So if they want to send me to jail, I've been to jail, and you're not going to believe it. I'm grateful for where they took me.
Yeah.
But it was the best sleep that I ever had.
Amen.
And nobody prayed for me, perhaps in a long time.
Yeah.
And before I slept, a very sick man told me that the Lord has given him scriptures for me, and he read a powerful Psalms, and I thanked him. By the time as he was finished, a preacher, who I believe working at the prison, he showed up, and he prayed for me.
And you sleep good.
And I felt great. I said, wow. And I went to bed, and I slept. Because whatever they asked me to do, I did. They said, take off your shirt, quickly. Take off your pants, quickly.
Yeah.
Take off your jockey. He didn't say that. And I asked him, should I take off my jockey? And he was embarrassed.
Yeah.
The only emotional pain I had was there was a young man who I used to lift up as a baby, because I know his parents. He started to cry.
Yeah.
So I had to get angry, look away from him, and ignored him.
Yeah.
And then finally, he thought I didn't remember him.
Yeah.
And he said, Mr. Monkey, you don't remember me? And I said, yes, I remember you, but you are an overseer. Harden your heart, because you may have to hang.
He was a guard in the prison.
And so it was a powerful experience. And then, of course, going there, I had an opportunity to drive on the prison bus.
Yeah.
And that police officer, Corporal Gray or Constable Gray, there is nobody I know who could drive like him.
Rodney
could
Ronka,
drive.
we have to go.
I thank you
appreciate
very
you for
much.
coming to Citizens Review, my brother.
Let freedom reign.
I don't think anybody could have said it better than you.
Thank you. God bless you.
We are but dust, and to dust we shall return, so you might as well say what you got to say before you're dead. I need say no more. I think Mr. Monka has articulated that from his position very well. We'll be back next week.